So now I have the icon. There's a man looking at the window on a rainy day. Or a rainy night, sorry. New York told me to believe in fate. And you asked me about fate back when I was a superstitious... Oh, wait. Already. Had you asked me about fate back when I was a human, I would have told you it's just superstitious bullshit. That we are all designers of our own destinies. That belief shattered when the richest woman in the United States, the actual richest one, not a face you could have seen in the papers, of course, sank her teeth deep into my neck. It happened in the very same place you're standing in right now, by the way. Fate, you decide. ... Please, there's absolutely no need to be hostile. Just listen a little longer. See, my mistake was that I flew too close to the sun. It makes sense that my punishment was to never see it glow again. I was incandescent myself. I was hot shit. I had it all. Money, looks, confidence, connection, men, women, a career, and a spark in my eye. The one you need to be born with. And that's when someone far more powerful than me saw my radiance and thought, that won't do. She robbed me of the light erupting from within and gave me a subtle, enduring gleam in its place. She decided that would fit me much better. She was a 9th generation kindred, just like you, an apex predator. She probably enjoyed teaching me, the peak of human excellence, my real place in the food chain. It's such an eyesore when you look at some loudmouth braggart and see them for all they really are. The temptation to teach them a lesson can be unbearable, right? Well, my sire's lesson was a lesson about fate. A message saying, you're eternally doomed to be at the mercy of your sovereigns. It almost drove me to destroy myself. What saved me was the ability to reinterpret her teaching. Hers was a message of doom. It was a message of hope. Fate exists, and one can shape it if given the right tools. My sire didn't believe my tools were fitting for the job. She considered them toys, and me, just her amusing subject. Well, she's deader than dead now, and I'm still here, standing right where she stood when we first met. ... You might have wondered how I've learned about your arrival to JFK Airport. My answer is, of course, destiny. As luck would have it, today happened to be a day some of my associates were inspecting the coffins. Driving you here straight from the plane and having you wake up in such an unfamiliar place was a little desperate, and I do apologize for it. But it is so rare for you to visit New York. 3 times in the last 15 years, was it? And you never eager to inform me you're here. I understand you still have that meeting on 53rd Street later tonight, so I'll provide a comfortable transport. I value our relationship very much, don't get me wrong. But it is precisely because I value it that I'm going to ask you to repay the favor you owe me. You're the only one I would trust to do the job well, and without attracting attention. You might think I'm crazy, asking you to breach the rules of our society like this. You might think it's impossible to get away with it unpunished. But this is New York, and I don't know about other cities, but in this one, fate really exists. Hello Tyler, I'm doing good. I started very late, but I wanted to redo a stream of Vampire the Masquerade. I kind of missed it. And I wanted a little break from Sherlock Holmes, so there. Next week is going to be my affiliate anniversary. It's going to be a karaoke night. Then the other was going to be a French half, where I'm going to be reviewing old vintage commercials. And right now, it's smiling in your favor. This is how it begins. The music is pounding and your pulse is keeping pace. This is one of those nights that make you feel alive, even though it started with you feeling dead. First came the messy breakup. Then the realization you have nobody to talk to about how much it sucked. Still, you decide to roll with the punches. One Facebook search for local event later, and you found just the thing for your malaise. A short subway ride, and you find yourself at the club just outside Dumbo. Not a fancy one, mind you. More like a slightly refurbished warehouse. But hey, at least the drinks are cheap. The DJ seems to really know his shit. Alternating between cutting-edge industrial techno and classic Detroit crowd pleasers, expertly feeling out everyone's mood. An hour passes, then two. Usually you feel awkward coming to a place like this alone, but tonight you find something soothing in joining the crowd, blending in, even as you allow the beat to take over. Sweat, yours, other people's, soaks through your shirt and pants in a matter of minutes. A thought pops into your head. From the outside, the fully packed club must seem like a stuffy, smelly nightmare, but here, in the thick of it, it becomes exhilarating. And you're not even on a pill tonight. There's this Latina chick whose curves are accented by the light dress clinging to her body, and she keeps bumping into you. Something tells you it only seems incidental. Yeah, it's a good night. You wish it could last forever, because you know all too well what the next day holds. Waking up, getting dressed for work, the commute, the 9-to-5 grind that will make you just enough money to pay the rent and keep living in your overpriced shithole of an apartment. And with Jessica moving out, it will all be coming out of your pocket. You run some quick calculation in your head and immediately come to regret that you did. Never mind, you spot the Latina again. She's now next to another guy, hitting it off. Your chance of not going to bed alone, gone. Just like that. Fuck. Your mood temporarily shut down. You leave the dance floor and you stumble your way to the filthy bathroom. You take a look in the mirror and start to wash your face, obsessively. Over and over again. A voice from the past echoes in your mind. Jessica, with a t-shirt of Citizen Slave. I never felt like this with anyone. Seriously, I mean it. I feel like all my relationships up to this point were test runs, a shitty way to compensate for my low self-esteem. But this feels right. Finally. Shut up, Jess. This was the craziest fucking day of my life. God, I need a smoke. Pass me a light. What do you mean, cops took the lighter? There's one in your mouth. Just shut the hell up. This is not you. Not anymore. Oh, fuck off. This is so like you. Acting like some sort of Clint Eastwood wannabe when I really, really need you to open up. You think you're impressing people with this tough guy act? Fuck you. I know how broken you really are. You need therapy. Yeah. Now that sounds like the Jessica for today. The Jessica of today. You raise your head and look in the mirror. You try to smile, but all you can muster is a self-pitying grin. And there she is, the Latina from before. She has glowing yellow eyes, pulsating. A question mark, ... She says you look like you need a drink. You hesitate for a second or two and then blurt out a surprising, enthusiastic, yeah! You start to talk. It quickly becomes evident that she's into politics and you are eager to please. You might be a corporate drone, but you spend a lot of evening reading theory. Actual theory, not bastardized Twitter cliff notes. And organizing for all matter of causes of lying. The status quo sucks. There must be something better. She agrees. You seem to subscribe to the same progressive political theories. You have compatible ideas about the DSA's missteps. Even watch the same YouTube channels. Your goals are aligned. She's a bit more radical than you would have guessed. You attended a few rallies, been to a few protests, but this girl sounds like she broke her share of faces and kicked more than a couple of cops in the nuts over the course of her activist career. Her zeal is infectious. She taps into pent-up anger that you didn't know you had. The noisy club stops working for you both, so you hit the streets. Just as you're leaving, the DJ starts playing All the Things She Said by Tattoo, of course. You chuckle to yourself, trying not to slip into a bad headspace. She chuckles along with you. It's chilly outside, but soon enough, you find yourself too invested in listening to the girl's voice to care about anything else. You realize you've been holding hands for a while. The subway car is empty, save for a stoic middle-aged couple and a drunk staring intently at his own feet. Plenty of room to stretch out, and yet she sits right next to you. You can feel her thigh pressing into yours, her breath on the side of your neck. Maybe it's the booze talking, but you distinctly hear your voice asking if she'd like to crash at your place. I got a better idea, she says. At this point, you're down for anything as long as it lets you spend just a few more minutes with her. She takes you to a sleazy motel in the Bronx, trading a few words with a balding, tired-looking guy at the front desk. He hands her a key. Still holding her hand, the woman leads you up the stairs. The room you end up in is almost comically stereotypical, complete with flaking paint and a sticky floor. Not that it matters, though. The moment you step through the door, she's on you. You try to take the lead, but she's having none of it. Before you know it, you feel the rickety bed pressing against your back. It's sloppy, fun, fierce, and not once does she lose the initiative. Your hands reach under her t-shirt. Strange. It didn't look like she was cold outside, but now her skin feels eerily cold. As if sensing your confusion, she slaps your hands off of her. She kisses your neck. You are overwhelmed by the sensation. Darkness. The taste of liquid fire and smoke on your tongue. Her voice searing. Sorry, kid. I did what I had to do to leave the city in one piece. But don't worry, with my blood and your principles, you're gonna do just fine. She slams the motel room door behind her as she leaves. You lie helpless on the soil-pungent mattress for some time. Minutes, hours. Before you can focus enough to try and piece together your evening, it hits you. The big hunger. It grips you by the throat and makes your insides shrivel in terror. It's an all-encompassing emptiness that throws you on all fours. You crawl for a while, squirm on the floor in sundering pain, then jump to your feet and burst out the door. You black out. ... This is a new room you saw when you last closed your eyes. ... Somebody curses at you. A small, naked, buff dude holding a short leather whip. Wow, what a goofy motherfucker. He throws a punch. He yells out several slurs. He hits you in the jaw. You black out again. The guy isn't moving anymore. There's blood on his neck. There's blood on his arms. There's blood on the floor. There's blood everywhere. Wow, whoever did this is one sick puppy. You realize you're sitting on top of his corpse. You hear a whimper. Someone else is here, a woman. Her arms are tied to the bed frame. An eye mask over her face. Red marks on her back. This time you see it happen. You want to stop, but can't. She also manages to get a scream out, but it dies in her throat as you bite into the side of her neck. You drink. Blood. You're drinking blood. You could swear you feel her life force escaping her body, entering yours. Suddenly terrified, you tear away from her. She's not moving, but she's breathing. There's barely a mark on her neck. The guy on the floor, though... Yeah, we see a bloody scene. The guy's dead on the floor in this puddle of blood. But yeah, you see the girl tied to the bed. Blood on the sheets. Blood on the walls. Blood on the drapes. You double over in a spasm, realizing that what you did, you feel like throwing up, but can only gag. Panic sets in, and as another realization dawns on you. Your heart is not beating. You put 2 fingers to your wrist, but feel no pulse. Same thing on the neck. Nothing. There's no breath coming out of your mouth. You have to get out. Go get someone to call an ambulance, for yourself at least. Probably too late for the dude on the floor. Did you really kill him? A stranger. He looks like Middle Eastern, but very pale, with glowing yellow eyes as well. Tisk, tisk, tisk. What a mess. You look up. The door to the room is ajar. A tall, handsome, broad-shouldered man fills the entire frame. He brushes an imaginary speck of dirt off his perfectly tailored suit. Call 911 out of the way, or this is not what it looks like. This is not what it looks like. Hey man, this isn't what it looks like. Well, that's good to hear, because from here where I'm standing, it looks like you are in a world of trouble. He surveys the room, not moving an inch from where he's standing. He shakes his head in mock concern. Murder? Assault? That's 25 to life if you're lucky. But since you're not, it's a death sentence. He takes a glance at his expensive-looking watch. Lucky for you, it's been a slow night. Otherwise, I might not have gotten here in time. Come on. The sun comes up in a few hours. You don't want to be around here when it does. The sun? I need a doctor. Fuck you, I'm not going anywhere. What's it matter when the sun comes up? Ah, so you don't even know. You should be glad I got here before you made yourself scarce. The man approaches you and starts talking. His tone remains unnaturally calm. Oddly enough, you find it both soothing and slightly unnerving. Now, listen to me. I know this is all new to you, but I've dealt with hundreds of strays like you. And going by experience, they tend to fall into two categories. First, they are the smart ones who carefully obey my every word and don't try to pull off anything stupid. Always get them where they need to be, safe and sound. And then there are the dumb ones. The punks who thought they could take me on. The wise guys who tried to contact somebody secretly without permission. The troublemakers who tried to run off or make a scene. None of them go to their destination in one piece. In fact, most of them never reach their destination at all. His voice becomes slightly bored and monotone. You can tell he's given this speech before, like dozens of times. So you see, while I generally consider myself pretty smart, I'm also a Mets fan. It's my one true weakness, one that inspired me to come up with a 3-strike system when dealing with pups like you. If you get on my nerves once or twice, well, I understand. Not all of us perform well in stressful situations. But cross me 3 times, and you're out. No excuses, no forgiveness, no mercy. As he's talking, he slowly approaches you, adding a bit of theatrical swagger to his walk. Eventually, he leans in, deliberately invading your personal space. You realize it's a test. He's daring you to do something about it. 3 strikes, and you're out. Say, I understand, sir, now. You've never been too eager to bend the knee to anyone, but this is something else. The man is very present and still a primal fear in your heart. I understand, sir, fuck you, sir, or what are you talking about? I understand, sir. Glad we have an understanding. Moving on, is there anyone you would want to inform to your current situation? Tell them you're alright. He flashes his fangs briefly, and for some reason, the sights send a chill down your spine. There is something very wrong about him. Someone closest to you? My ex-girlfriend, my girlfriend, or lie out of your ass? Jessica, my ex-girlfriend. She kinda hates my guts, but yeah, I suppose it would be her. The stranger gives you a puzzled look and decides to prod further. The closest person in your life hates your guts. This time, something resembling a look of pity, he turns his eyes to the corpse on the floor. When it rains, it pours, I suppose. Well, if you would like to ruin her day and let her know you're alright, give me your phone number. I'll have someone take care of it. Discreetly, of course. You hand him your smartphone so he can copy the numbers from your list of contacts. Thank you. This will be useful in illustrating my next point. Instead of giving you back your phone, the man's hiding it in his pocket. From this point on, you are subject to different laws than the ones you grew up under, and you'll be watched by many eyes to ensure these laws are respected. You are forbidden from letting anyone know you're still alive. You are forbidden from showing your face anywhere they know you. If anyone comes looking for you, it's over for both you and them. He interrupts his monotone recitation and stares deep into your eyes. So, unless you want your girlfriend to end up at the bottom of the Hudson, I would suggest you cooperate. He proudly displays his fangs again. You've put Jess in danger. God damn it. I can only hope that you care for her enough not to do anything selfish. His words are meant to imply otherwise, but by now it's obvious. He hates your guts as much as you hate his. He's itching for a fight, and you're almost willing to oblige. Right? I think that's enough lecturing for today. We're on a bit of a schedule here. Now, I don't need to hurt you, but I can do so in the blink of an eye. Just so that we're clear, I have the authority to end you right here, right now. This is not an idle threat. So, are you going to play along? Or do we have to do it the hard way? Punch the stranger, follow the stranger out, or call for help. You weigh your chances, but it doesn't look promising. The guy's fit, determined, and looks like he means business. You, on the other hand, are confused, exhausted, on the verge of a panic attack. Yeah, fine, I'll go with you. He almost looks disappointed. Wise decision. Follow me, please, and close the door behind you. You take on one final look at the woman who's fucked. Absolutely fucked. You pull the handle and close the door. The man leads you downstairs. You contemplate signaling the bald guy at the front desk, but he's too busy watching some 90s action flick on a small, ancient-looking TV. He seems totally oblivious to your presence. You hear dejected Jean-Claude Van Damme say, "I just want to go home," as you're walking by. Your would-be kidnapper stops by the door and addresses you before opening it. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, as soon as he opens the door, I'm making a run for it. Maybe I can outrun him. I'll save you the trouble. You can't. You can either get inside my car and I'll get you where you need to be, or you can try something stupid that you'll regret later. Do I make myself clear? Clear as day. Why don't you turn me in, or no promises? I'm gonna ask something. Why don't you just turn me in? Because no one would benefit from that. And besides, I have my orders. He opens the door and gestures to a black Cadillac Escalade parked right outside the building. After you. Make a run for it or go inside the car. Following the stranger's instruction, you make your way to the car and get in the back seat. The door locks behind you. Inside, the Cadillac is almost entirely dark. The side window seems light-proof. That man gets in the driver's seat, starts the engine, and drives away without another word. Are we going to a hospital? Did I die, or who are you? Who the hell are you, anyway? I'm the ferryman, here to take you to the other side. He waits his next words carefully. You'll have to forgive me, I'm not in the mood to wax poetics. About the state you're in, or my role in tonight's event, just remember, If you want to survive the next 24 hours, you'll have to play along. You can do this is some shady bullshit, or this is a nightmare. Man, this is bullshit! Why does everything have to be a fucking riddle? Well, riddle me this. Who's gonna get their teeth smashed into their brain if he doesn't shut up? Understand that this is for your own good. Times being what they are, you should consider yourself lucky. You drive in silence for about 20 more minutes. As exhaustion catches up with you, the streetlights fade into a blur. Eventually, the car stops and the door opens. You emerge yourself from your dreamlike state and find yourself in some garage of underground park, some kind of underground parking garage. You two are the only ones here. The man points to a nearby door. Go on in. Make yourself comfortable. If you get hungry again, take a look in the fridge. I'll pick you up tomorrow, and you'll get your answers. Behind the door is a small room. No windows, just a simple bed. And a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. A small bridge is humming away in the corner, accompanied by a rattling AC fan in the wall. Guess I have to trust you. I'm not going in there. This is fucked up. This is all kinds of fucked up. Trust me, you haven't seen anything yet. Just know one thing. Remember when I said you were lucky? I meant it. See, my job is to get rid of problems, but I'm not always this polite about it. This time, I was specifically told to mind my manners. So believe me when I tell you, considering how this night could have turned out, being stuck in here for a night is a really good deal. Now get in, or I'll throw you in. Walk inside the room or try to escape. You step inside. The stranger nods. Good night. He closes the door behind you. Looks sturdy, but as he's locking it, you notice claw marks all over. Looks like some previous guests weren't satisfied with their stay. You decide not to dwell on it and check the fridge. There's a single plastic bag there, filled with red liquid, no label. Tomato soup? You feel sick to your stomach. Best to leave it for now. You lie down on the bed. It's a simple mattress on a metal frame. You can't help but think it looks exactly like the one back at the hotel with the bound woman. Oh, right. You killed a man tonight. Or did you? Maybe none of this is real. Maybe it's all an elaborate prank. The girl at the club? Jess might have put her up to it. Tall guys let her in on it too. Now he's back with them and they're all laughing their asses off. You don't know what to think anymore. The mind races, but you're too tired to keep it going. Finally, you tense up one last time before drifting away into oblivion. You wake up. That in itself is a surprise. You barely remember when you drifted off. It didn't feel quite like sleep, more like plummeting into an endless void. You imagine that's how death feels like. The room is unchanged. The lamp is still on. The AC is still rattling. The refrigerator is still humming. You take a look at your watch. It's almost 9 p.m. You slept for 17 hours straight. Maybe you died. Your breath is gone, and you feel no thumping in your chest. Does that qualify as dead if you're still conscious? You're not sure about that, but you're certain about one thing. You are hungry. It's not your stomach rumbling though. It's a need that starts somewhere in your abdomen and spread to your chest, your throat, and on the back of the head. You open the fridge. The bag is still there. You take a closer look at it. If it is soup, then its color and texture are off. You pull the cork out. You take a whiff. You recognize the smell immediately. Holy shit. There's no mistaking it. It's a bag of blood. The smell is faint, and you remember some situation in the past where you found it nauseating, but now it's almost... No, not almost. It is enticing. Put the bag back or drink the blood. Feels wrong, but right now, there's barely anything in your life that doesn't. To hell with it. You pour a bit of the liquid into your mouth. It tastes bland. Reminds you of cheap supermarket juice. Just enough flavor to register as what it is claimed to be on the box, but nothing like the real thing. Nothing like what you had the last time. You swallow it. Somehow you don't feel sick. In a weird, messed up way, you can't help but think it feels nourishing. You take a few more sips, and then just another one. Suck on the bag a little bit more. Eventually, you find that you've emptied it entirely. All, you look at the info press into the side of the bag, 450 milliliters of it. Even with this blandness, you still feel like having more. You realize your body longs for that intoxicating high you felt when an image of that corpse crosses your mind, causing you to wince. What have you become? You try to piece your thought together, make sense of it all. When you hear the lock click and see the door open, standing there is the well-dressed stranger you met yesterday. Immaculate suit again, that predatory look like a hawk on the hunt, but somehow more relaxed tonight. So, like a tame hawk, maybe.
Good evening. Slept well?
He noticed the discarded emptied bag.
I see you had a bit of a snack.
Yeah, got any more? Or was that really blood? Or this is fucked up? I'm gonna state the obvious. A snack? Dude, that was fucking blood! What the fuck did you do to me? Are you part of some rich people's child-eating cult? Instead of replying, the stranger just gives you a pitiful look.
Come on. We've got places to be.
The car is humming in the empty parking lot just outside the door of the cramped room you have spent the day in. The man motions to it, politely, but with a stern look on his face. Rush the stranger, get inside the car, or hijack the car. I'm trusting you here, man.
I'm touched. Sincerely.
You take the back seat again. The door lock. The stranger takes the wheel and starts the car. You drive in silence for a while. From time to time, you keep trying to catch glimpses of familiar street or landmarks through the blackened windows, but it's of little use. The car is also soundproof, so all you hear is a bit of traffic humming in the car's engine. The driver doesn't say anything and seems focused on the road. You check the door handle. Yeah, the door is locked all right. The piece of dark glass separating you and the front of the car looks sturdy too. There is nothing left to do but wait. You didn't have time to think about it before, but you realize now that you're hungry? No, not exactly. It's not a rumbling stomach that grabs your attention. It's a need that starts somewhere in the abdomen and spreads to your chest, throat, and the back of the head. You try to extract some information out of the man behind the wheel, but you realize you're better to bask in the afterglow of your last meal. You wouldn't have expected it, but you spend the rest of the trip lost in your thoughts. A lot of them concern blood. It takes another 20 or so minutes as you get to your destination. As the door opens, you try to get your bearings. You're still in New York, that much is certain. Queens, maybe.
After me. No sudden movement, please.
You approach a nice-looking building that houses a two-story gallery called the Heart Hole. Two large men in suits flank the door on both sides, and they give you, your companion, a nod as you approach. Prompted by the stranger guiding you, you walk inside. The gallery is full, which is unusual at this hour, to say the least. About 24 faces until the showroom, and a number of waiters navigate the gathering, serving drinks. All of them are beneath the guests' attention. The visitors are well dressed, for the most part, but it's unclear what they have gathered here for. Nobody seems to be particularly interested in the art pieces on the walls, and the atmosphere is polite, unnaturally so. Many guests turn to look at you, at the stranger who brought you here. Their glances are varied. You see open contempt on a few faces and animated interest on others. Most of the eyes in the room calmly observe you as if wishing to appraise your work. The last time you felt like this was at your previous job interview. It was like being a piece of livestock, inspected from all sides for any imperfection, so your wage could be haggled down. It was dehumanizing and you feel dirty. When they called you the next day to offer you the job, you declined. Even when you're a nobody, you become even less if you trade away your dignity for a paycheck. The memory makes you feel warmer inside even now, although the state of your bank account never did. The woman. Good evening, Kadir. And to you, child. The noble, cold voice takes you out of your head and back to the situation at hand. The gallery. A crowd of strangers. You being brought here against your will. For what purpose? The room awaits your response. Good evening, miss. Excuse me, what? Or not a child? Good evening, miss.
You are addressing the Prince of New York City, Helen Panhard, child of Michaela.
Yeah, just be nice. Of course. Like, if I fuck up here, I'm beheaded.
Thank you, my sheriff, but I'm capable of introducing myself.
She's somewhat plain looking and doesn't seem to possess a great deal of charm, but still the entire room is entirely focused on her voice. She has influence over these people, that much is clear.
You may address me as Prince, child. I realize your introduction into on life was abrupt, and I understand your sire left shortly after. The rules of our society dictate I punish you both for this transgression.
A murmur, or agreement maybe, can be heard from the gathered audience.
But I am willing to listen to what our loyal sheriff has to say about the circumstances of your embrace first.
I don't understand. Remain silent or punish me for what? I'm gonna be nice. You decide it's best to stay silent and listen the whole situation unfold. It feels like you're out of your depth here.
Shall we begin? You are about to be judged by the Court of New York City. Kadir, please tell us how you found this fledgling and what had happened on your way here.
Court? Prince? Is this some kind of secret society make-believe?
A trusted informant, who has chosen to remain anonymous at this time, tipped me off about a suspicious kindred appearing in one of our domains. Upon investigating, I found them gone, but this fledgling remains in their place. The hunger made him savage, a prostitute, and his client into a Bronx brothel belonging to one of the ministry. I've already spoken to Sansarik about this, and make sure it'll blow over.
The ministry. Oh, okay. I try to remember who Sansarik was.
Regarding the fledgling himself, surprisingly enough, he offered little resistance last night and cooperated on our way to the safe house. I was pleased to not have to force his compliance. We had a quick chat, but wishing to appear here post-haste, I urged him to join me, which he did without struggle. Again, a pleasant departure from my usual routine. His thirst partially slaked with the bagged blood we kept in the safe house, we had a pleasant enough drive here. The story ends with us arriving at Elysium tonight.
All eyes are on you again. You take a special interest in one of the faces. It's a beautiful woman with curly, almost blood-red hair, and dressed to match. You see her whispering to some bespectacled man with an absent-minded look on his face. Who is she, you wonder?
Thank you, Kadir. I take note of this fledgling's behavior and will take it into consideration later.
She turns her attention to you.
First, there is the matter of your sire, the person who brought you where Kadir picked you up from last night. Who were they?
Sire, does it matter, or a feisty woman? I'm gonna insert a feisty woman. It's a Latina woman, very radical, unless she conveniently lied to me. She was special, extraordinary. She had fire, conviction, temper. She seduced me, easily in fact. Made me think she wanted me, I fell for it, and now I'm here. It feels awkward talking to a room full of a stranger about what seems like a random one-night stand at a time. Not to mention that even though the Latina made an impression on you for sure, her face is already fading from your mind. You realize she never even told you her name. Well, Kadir, does that sound familiar?
No, it does not. Or at least, not familiar enough. I will continue the search after we're done here.
Can I go now, or what happens now? The receptionist she spoke to may know her. Oh, that chick! She rented out her room at the hotel. She talked to the receptionist. He might know something about her.
Unlikely, but regardless, thank you for that observation. I will investigate this later. What shall I do with the fledgling, my prince?
What is your recommendation, my sheriff?
The traditions are clear. Thou shalt only sire another with the permission of thine elder. If thou createst another without thine elder's leave, both thou and thy progeny shall be slain. I am ready to fulfill my duty.
Stay your hand for just a moment longer, Kadir. I wish to consult my counsel on this. Make sure everyone is in agreement.
Of course.
He seems strangely relieved. The prince, in quote, leaves the main showroom, and a handful of people follow her out. You're about to ask this Kadir what all that talk of tradition and council was, when the red-haired woman approached the two of you.
Sophie. Sheriff. I was wondering if I could have a word with the fledgling. What for?
She lowers her voice in response.
Come now, Kadir. We all know what the verdict is going to be. Let me speak to them. You might not have to stain your hands tonight after all.
Her words grab his attention. His face is hard to read. It's like several emotions are struggling from domination, anger. Several emotions are struggling for domination. Anger, sadness, hope, gratitude, resolve.
I'll go get my sword.
He steps out of the room the way you came, and you are left in the showroom with the woman in the red dress. She takes you aside, and the eyes of the remaining guests follow you.
Well then, fledgling, you are quite the pickle.
What do you mean, or what was that about a sword, or what is this circus? Wait, did I hear that right? What did he say about a sword?
Your hearing is faulty. We only have a short while before the prince hears our counsel out and Kadir returns here with his blade. So listen, please. Last night, you became a vampire.
Wait, what?
Oh yes, I am well aware of how ridiculous that sounds. It's the reason why we have these nicer words for it. Kindred, being embraced, having a sire. The fact remains. The beings called vampires, you're looking at them. They are us.
You glance around. Some of the guests are still occasionally looking at you, commenting on you in hushed tones. Many of the patrons are pale. Really pale. Most hold glasses of wine. No, not wine. That's not the right thickness. And not the right color either. You're trying to come up with something sensible to say, but you're drawing a blank. It makes some morbid kind of sense. You drank blood last night, there's no denying it, and your breathing has not returned. Your heart remains still. A vampire. Two voices in your head start battling for supremacy. One of them slowly begins to put everything that happened since yesterday together, coming to a conclusion that no matter how insane it might seem, nothing but what she's saying made sense. The other voice just keeps saying, "What the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck," on repeat.
You're surprised. This is often how it plays out by design. Kadir deliberately keeping you in the dark and all. If we do nothing, you will be cut down, as sure as days follows night. But I'm here to offer you a chance, a way out. Under one condition. I will take you under my wing. If you're lucky, the prince will be in a good mood tonight, and your deference to Kadir will work in your favor. She might agree to this, but only if you swear fealty to me. I am not making this offer lightly. As your patron, I will take responsibility for you. Your action will reflect on me. If they reflect negatively, well, I will make sure you face the consequences. What happens if I agree? What if I refuse? You'll make me your servant? And what if I refuse? I believe I know what the prince will ordain, and I am certain Kadir would do his duty. For you, my poor fledgling, will die, for good this time. With me, there's a chance you will not. I can be your guide in this new reality. Steps and a hushed voice can be heard from the side room. It seems the prince and her council are returning to the showroom. Kadir appears from downstairs as well and starts walking towards you. When you hear the verdict, ask to be spared. I will intervene. Remember my condition. She flashes a heart-melting smile towards Kadir, who does not smile back. The sheriff's immaculate suit is now complemented by a curved oriental-looking metal scabbard fastened with a colorful sash around his waist. It would look vaguely ridiculous if it wasn't surprisingly intimidating first and foremost. Kadir takes his place next to you and observes as the prince takes center stage again. Loyal kindred of the New York City Camarilla gathered here tonight, I have made my decision regarding this fledgling. She briefly addresses you. I want you to know that this was not an easy decision to make. For your part, you have not done anything to earn our ire. I do feel a genuine sorrow from what must be done. We are all keenly aware that these nights we need to close our ranks and trust the wisdom of our elders and their tradition more than ever before. There is no place for tolerating dissent when our very existence is under constant threat. Although I acknowledge some of my consul's divergent opinion on this, she takes a look specifically at one of the people who left the room before. A rather plainly dressed, shy-looking man whose skin has a somewhat healthier tone. He bows his head in deference. I hold the final authority over this fledgling's fate, and I declare that while their embrace might be the sire's responsibility, in their absence it is their progeny that must be punished. The sentence is final death, to be resolved presently. Kadir? You hear a scraping sound and see that the sheriff has unsheathed his curved sword. It is a beautifully detailed blade which you expect to be worth a small fortune. Its hammer and sharpness makes you freeze up. 2 outs, the bottom of the ninth. His quiet mumble is audible to nobody but you. As his eyes meet yours, you note just a hint of sadness in his countenance, one that quickly vanishes to give way to grim determination. And he's out to bat. You will not get another chance to speak up. Ask for mercy, escape the gallery, or remain silent. You make your choice. I am not going down like this, damn it! Please spare me! Prince, if I may ask you to stay the sheriff's hands for a while longer? Kadir looks at the prince, awaiting a response. The sword is still hanging above you, threatening to fall at a moment's notice. Is there something you would like to say, Miss Langley? Yes, if I may. At first, the prince looks somewhat annoyed at the distraction, but she stays quiet for a while, measuring their mood in the room. The bored elite suddenly looked at you with aroused interest, some of them dismayed at not being the bloodshed, but all intrigued by the unexpected twist. The prince nods. Well, let's hear it. Sophie takes a few steps forward. All eyes are on her now, but Kadir's heavy hand on your shoulder makes it clear you won't take advantage of the distraction. My prince, While the traditions are clear, I believe that the proper context would be observed in addition to the letter of our laws. This fledgling is a burden, but with proper guidance, they could become an asset to our domain.
Am I to understand you are volunteering to take this sireless child under your protection?
Yes? I happen to think they might hold a potential that would be unfortunate to waste. I do expect their full cooperation, of course.
Whispers can be heard again. An incredulous voice or two, a hushed, "Just behead the fucker!" Some suppressed exclamation of surprise. Silence! I ask all of you to make a note of this moment. I might be persuaded to bend one tradition in this child's favor, but another will have to be enforced even more firmly in his stead. Until thy progeny shall be released, thou shalt command them in all things. Their sins are thine to endure. Are you certain that's a responsibility you wish to shoulder, Miss Langley?
I am willing to guide this fledgling and add a valuable ally to our sect in a time of need, yes. But I would like to receive the right of destruction over to them, if it pleases you.
Remain silent. Give me a chance to prove myself, Prince, or destruction, or hell no. I am worth keeping alive, Prince. Give me a chance to prove myself. That remains to be seen. I do take notice of your tenacity. See that it doesn't become a burden. I shall grant what you ask. Let it be known, Sophie Langley of the Clan of the Rose will become this fledgling patron. They shall be considered like sire and child. Miss Langley will take full responsibility for them, and I grant her the right of destruction if she sees fit to use it. Let my intention be clear, however. If I am to turn a blind eye on one of our most important traditions on this occasion, I expect it to be beneficial to the Camarilla. Substantially so. I hope you find this verdict satisfactory, Miss Langley.
Of course, Prince. Thank you.
Very well. She turns to you. What is your name, child? Eric? Should I use a nickname, or now you're asking for my name? Okay, I'm not gonna be sassy with the prince. He's got a point. I'm gonna try this. Do you use your actual names? My whole life is over, so shouldn't I have, a vampire nickname? It depends on the choices made by individual kindred, but for now, I do need a name I can use in an official manner. It's Eric, then. She nods. Welcome to the Camarilla, Eric. Now, this evening proved to be more eventful than I anticipated, but with the fledgling's fate decided, I believe our meeting here can conclude. Thank you all for appearing on such short notice. Give my regard to those who couldn't make it. Kadir, a moment of your time before I can let you return to your duties?
Of course, Prince.
He shoots you a side glance that doesn't leave much spare for interpretation. You will be watched. You will be judged. And if need be, you will be punished. The two of them leave the gallery. Well, Eric, I think we've both already managed to significantly improve... Oh, this is Sophie.
I think we both already managed to significantly improve each other's evenings. But let's keep the ball rolling, shall we? I think we should have a toast to a new fruitful partnership.
She raised her hand at one of the well-dressed concierge, who have now reappeared in the showroom to refill the guest glasses. The conventionally handsome man approached with a carafe of wet liquid. He pours into two tall glasses. It's blood again. That much is clear. You're in two minds about drinking it, but the memory of last night's hunger makes you wince. You take a tentative sip. You expected the same blandness you tasted a few hours ago, but this one you can actually savor. It's smoky and warm, making you think of a cozy cabin in the woods. It does strike you as a strange image for your mind to jump to when drinking human blood, but it is what it is. You've never tasted anything like it. Do you like it? I think NYC caterers have a very bourgeois idea about what good blood should taste like.
Apologies. You must have so many questions. While we're on the topic, perhaps we should start with those related to sustenance.
How much do I have to drink? Where do you get the blood? What if I refuse to drink? It's kind of weird that you have waiters serving blood. Where do you get it from?
Oh, that can be a bit of a touchy topic. Let's just say that most of the blood available at events like this is crowd-funded. Did I get that right? It's hard to keep track of modern language. At any rate, what I mean to say is that there is a plethora of vessels on tap. As for where to get blood where you're not at Elysium, tomorrow I shall take you hunting and we will explore this topic further. What you need to know right now is that no matter how much you drink, you will always be tempted to have more, unless you consume someone wholly to the last drop. But even that doesn't last. It's best start by taking a single sip from a vessel. Be prudent. Hot, fresh blood is more satiating than most anything that can be served in a fancy glass, but it can make you more voracious. As to how much you should have, it depends. If you're frugal, you can survive many nights without a single drink, but it's risky, and it will tempt the beast that is part of our curse.
What do you mean by hunting? You mentioned a beast, so I'm expected to follow your lead now. You'll take me hunting, you say, and I'm expected to follow you around whenever you go, yes? Her demeanor sours.
If I request it, then yes, unequivocally. Without my good graces, you will meet a swift and definite end. I have offered you a chance, but it's only worth it as much as you decide to utilize it.
A nasty smile makes her bare her fangs.
Of course, you can feel free to save me the trouble and just meet the sunrise. Just do it in a secluded place so you don't endanger the masquerade.
Her anger gone in a split seconds, a warm smile returns to her face and makes you feel foolish for having wronged her in any way. You realize it's an obvious play on your emotion. You've seen Kadir toy with you in similar ways. It doesn't change the fact that the trick is still disturbingly effective. The concierge returns, asks for permission to intrude, which Sophie gives with a polite smile and leads in to whisper in her ear. You note that the gallery is now almost empty.
I'm being told the gallery is just about to close, but we'll still have quite a lot to discuss. We'll go to one of my apartments. My jalopy is waiting downstairs. Come.
The smile she puts on makes you remember the way you felt with the Latina. It's like arousing, though, more like magnetic. You find it how to argue. Even though you're still suspicious of her authority over you, her charm momentarily wins you over. Sophie leads you to a luxurious silver Rolls Royce and invites you to sit in the back. The chauffeur, a broad-shouldered, clean-shaven, middle-aged guy, starts driving immediately.
Where did we leave off? Ah, I believe I started telling you a bit more about our customs. You've heard the prince refer to our traditions. The chief among them is the masquerade. As you might have gathered from us assembling at a niche gallery after closing time, our comings, goings, and doings tend to be somewhat secretive. We do not advertise our existence. We allow myths and modern fiction to morph and muddle the facts, so to the vast majority of kind, we remain bedtime stories and pop culture icons. Say, is that one television about a vampire angel still popular?
She talking about Buffy. You shake your head in confusion. She shrugs and continues talking, looking a little bit more dejected than before.
Our clandestine ways help us remain safe, allow us to explain away the occasional trip up to the rational mind of 21st century humanity, and dictate much of our interaction with mortals.
What's the risk? Is your driver a vampire too, or what's the flip side? So, if it's such a secret, then I'm guessing your driver is a vampire too?
Oh, dear Gregory here? No, not a vampire, although he is loyal servant and as such trusted to not spill our secret left and right. You will realize with time that such help is welcome. Gregory watches over me during the day hours. Sunburns are kind, that's why we take our get rest when it rises. It's more akin to being dead than asleep, as I am sure you're already experienced. But not everything you've heard about vampires is true. Some more folk-related dread are just legends, or occasionally a minor nuisance. Garlic, running water, even religious symbols don't repel us unless the wielder is uniquely pure and godly. Stakes through the heart, though, oh, that's something to avoid. They do not destroy, but they do paralyze us. Well, that's just another reason to have somebody like trusty old Gregory making sure you're safe when you drift away. We have many enemies, and they often know their advantage lies with daylight.
Do vampires watch each other's backs? It's good to keep human friends. The masquerade sounds like bullshit. Hmm. Am I right in thinking that having a human friend or two is necessary then, or at least useful?
In moderation, and best if they don't know your true nature. Also, I would say that subordinate are useful, but friends? I haven't had one of those for many years now. Our little sect supplies social interaction aplenty, but it doesn't really encourage friendships. Alliances of convenience to be broken at whim. Yes, that's more like it. Long-term solidarity does occur in the Camarilla, but we are a very politicized organization by necessity. Loyalty is to your sire, to your prince, and to the sect. Friends, air quote, must remain a distant priority at best for us to maintain the masquerade and thrives as the years pass. With age comes authority, with it comes influence and power if you wish to reach for them.
She seems to be lost in thought and falls silence for a while, leaving you to ponder all the things you've learned tonight. Still feels absolutely unreal, but as piece after piece of knowledge falls into place, the image becomes almost like an entirely logical jigsaw puzzle. Whatever you wouldn't believe on your own, you've witnessed. Many questions swarms your thought, but the one you keep running into is what your place in this new reality should be. The car stops. You are in the city, in front of an old but well renovated apartment building.
We're here. Would you like to see your lodgings?
My own apartment neat? Is this another parking lot room? How long do you expect me to stay here? I get my own apartment. That's neat.
Consider it the first of many gifts that I'm able to grant in exchange for loyalty. Come upstairs.
She leads you through a small hall with a night guard who greets Miss Lanley with a good evening, and you take the stairs up to the second floor. Sophie opens the door to room 209. Inside are all the amenities you could expect from a modern apartment, and some you wouldn't have deemed necessary just the previous night, including thick blinds on the windows. The back room has a comfortable looking bed and a thick steel door with several sturdy looking locks, but no windows.
Well, how do you like it?
This is great, thank you. Can I choose another, or it feels too nice? Oh, this is great, thank you.
I'm glad. Make yourself at home. Tomorrow we'll take you hunting and discuss the blood in more detail. I'll let you get comfortable. The keys are by the television set. I will come pick you up tomorrow night. Use the back room for rest. You can lock the door just in case.
It stings a bit when she leaves. It's like the room suddenly becomes a few shades dimmer. You inspect the kitchen, hoping to find something to drink. Nothing. No regular food either. Feels strange that Kadir could be more thoughtful host than you knew SARS, even if only in that respect. You briefly wonder if the sheriff might have a hidden side. With nothing left to do, you lie on the couch with the TV playing in the background for company. Columbo reruns. Kojak reruns. President of the United States got himself into serious trouble again. President of the United States got himself out of trouble again. Pundit starts yelling each other about things that seems a little bit less insignificant just 2 days ago. You start drifting off, reflecting about another night of confusing conversation and worldview-shattering revelations. How many more before you finally understand what happened to you and what you're supposed to do now? You keep coming back to the life you left behind, the people you should contact, the things you want to pick up from your apartment. You wonder when you have the chance for either. As you start to feel the same tiredness that made you drift into a cold sleep last night, you settle in the back room. The bed is comforting, the lack of windows less so. You leave the light bulb on. Looking at it, you realize it's the closest you'll ever come to staring at the sun on a breezy summer day again. A wave of melancholy overwhelms you. A few minutes later, your consciousness fades and you take the plunge into darkness again. Sinking, 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 sinking. Okay, so this is the sunrise, so I should press to rest. Okay, this is the tutorial. Hunger is at the heart of a vampire's existence. To ignore it is to tempt the beast to take over in its desires to feed. To overindulge in feeding may threaten the masquerade while staying with humanity you have left. In Coteries of New York, having high hunger is indicated by a progressively thicker bloody frame around the screen, like the one you see now. As your hunger grows, so does the indicator. Your hunger may increase when you call upon your vampiric powers, or when you need to mend your wound after a fight. When your hunger reaches the maximum level, you'll receive a warning after you complete a piece of the story. Ignore it at your own peril. Some choices might only become visible if your hunger is high enough. Similarly, high hunger may block off some choices, as you will be able to see after pressing continue. A blocked off option, yeah. Continue. To decrease your hunger, you will need to feed. Whenever you see a feeding opportunity, you can take the risk to hunt and slake your hunger. A feeding opportunity. You will need to keep the hunger at bay if you are to uphold the masquerade and survive the night that awaits you. You open your eyes. The bed isn't warm. The room is filled with artificial light from the ceiling. The solid metal door is closed. Normally, you would stretch for a bit. On some mornings, you probably throw the quilt over yourself and snooze a moment longer. But that was before. The way you woke up now, you are fully conscious. No grogginess. Nothing weighing you down. Just a nagging need in the back of your head. Hunger. Not as severe as the last time, but unmistakably there. You get up and open the door to the main room. A digital clock on the TV shows you the time, 9:04 p.m. You walk over to the blinds and retract them cautiously. The only light coming is in the NYC's artificial nighttime luminescence. So that's what your waking hours are going to look like now. You missed the sunlight already. You're seriously considering just walking out of the apartment and figuring this all out by yourself, but then you come back to the memory of Kadir's exotic sword being raised in the gallery. Maybe sticking around isn't that bad of an idea after all. You keep jumping channels for around half an hour, and then switch to streaming services. Almost as if the universe has a sense of irony, you catch True Blood in the flood of recommendation. The doorbell rings. It's Sophie.
Good evening, Eric. Slept well?
Like a baby, like a dead man, or it's not exactly sleep, right? Oh yeah, like a dead man.
Curious wording, but not that far from the truth, I suppose. No use dwelling on it. I think you will agree with time. You made the right choice yesterday. It can teach you many things about yourself, your blood, its desire and its power. We'll begin tonight. You're hungry, yes? I'm sure you are. Our kind always is. There is only one remedy, the blood. The drinks we had yesterday at Elysium are not the usual way you slake your thirst. So tonight I will assist you in the first foray into hunting. You need to learn to sense the kind of blood you desire, to understand how you can use the kind's vulnerabilities to your advantage.
I'm ready to learn. No more freebies. Predator and Bray, huh, Grim? Well, I'm ready to learn. Let's get started.
Such eagerness! Or is it just your hunger making you impatient? You will find that drinking moderate amounts of it regularly will keep the hunger and the whispers of the beast away. You might think yourself monstrous, but there is a balance to be found here. The kiss gives the kind pleasure. You might remember this from your own embrace. Some can even become addicted to the sensation, but if you do it right, they tend to misremember your feeding. After all, vampires do not exist. They are myths, fairy tales, and pop culture mainstays, correct?
She gives you a sly, knowing smile.
That is why the masquerade is so important, and even more crucial than when you feed.
How do you avoid being seen? How do you cover your tracks? How do you select a victim? All valid questions. I don't know what to ask. Take a sip. I still have half a whey bar. Okay. As I was reading my comments for the first time, somebody talked to me about Mary Louid, the let me in tradition about the epic huge horse skull, and he tries to get into people. And basically, if you ran out of reason to not letting him in, he can enter and eat your food and drink your alcohol. And the way it was described is like, okay, if you don't want to let it in, you have to rap battle. So, how do you cover your tracks? Biting people leaves marks, right? And the victims remember your face.
Oh, you shouldn't concern yourself with leaving marks. They are easy to conceal, you just need to bite carefully and then lick the punctures close. That's all there is to it. As for being remembered, like I mentioned, the kiss is an ecstatic experience, so kind can barely recall the details. Sorry. And even when they do, this city is enormous. You could spend days on the street and not see the same face twice. Use that to your advantage. Feeding from the same area repeatedly can be dangerous, but by branching out, you risk the ire of other kindreds on whose domains you trespass. Lucky for you, NYC is more forgiving in this regard.
Well, it depends.
New York is in somewhat of a unique position. Many of its neighborhood remains contested or unclaimed. The reason for this is a lesson for another time, but keep the following in mind. Take opportunities to feed when they present themselves these upcoming nights. As long as you hunt cautiously and respect the masquerade at all times, you should be fine. To wit, I want you to join me for a trip tonight. Come downstairs. Gregory's waiting for us.
The busy streets fills the air with traffic noise, pedestrian chatter, and a mist of smells that disorient you momentarily. These warm bodies contain what you want, what you need. You catch yourself. Did you really just think of these people as mere sources of blood? It takes a nudge from Sophie to break your train of thought. Her driver opens the door for her, and then tips his hat to you, gesturing to the back of the car. The car usually joins the somewhat thin New York traffic. It's still busy in the way only one of the biggest cities in the world can be, but compared to the daytime commute, it's a pleasant drive. You barely have the time to gather your thought and formulate new questions before the car comes to a stop. You're among the tall skyscrapers that make up Manhattan's iconic skyline.
Come, Eric. Park the car, Gregory, will you?
The driver just nods, and Sophie gets out. You join her, and the two of you walk through the glass door together, then take the elevator up. You first notice an empty stage with the instruments of a string quartet still in the back, then take in the few dozen chairs in front of it. The concert seems concluded. The patrons, all smartly dressed and posh, have spread out all over the wall. Sophie strides confidently inside, produces an invitation from her purse that she flashes in front of a security guard. You follow close and are let through without issue.
Let's start easy. A social setting like this one would easily prove quite challenging to an experienced kindred, but consider this an evening small gift from your patron. I'm hoping to procure for you a willing vessel. Just remember what I told you about taking small sips. This one I have a soft spot for. Don't damage her. Now let's see here. Ah, there he is.
She notices somebody in the crowd, flashes a heart-melting smile, and suddenly even you feel drawn to her. You haven't thought about it before, but it's laid clear before you in this moment. Sophie is beautiful. Just looking at her is a privilege. Just being with her makes you feel elated. Everybody in the crowd, but especially the man who's almost tripping over himself to reach her, clearly agrees.
Edgar, I'm so happy to see you. How is your daughter? Is she with you? There she is. Julie, my girl, come over, please. There's something I'd like you to meet.
The young woman who walks across the hall can't be more than 19-year-old. It's clear from her mismatched earrings and the partially faded purple hair dye that she doesn't fit in this crowd.
Julie, this is Eric. I think the two of you should get acquainted while I talk business with your dad. Awfully boring stuff, I assure you. I'm positive you'll like each other.
The girl gives you a shy smile and nods towards the balcony stairs. You follow, somewhat unsure what it exactly expects you to do. You reach a secluded space from which the entire lobby is visible. All eyes are on Sophie. They listen intently, then laugh when she does. Julie saves you the trouble of figuring out the next step. Well, if you're with Sophie, then I guess you're, you know. She looks like Ramona Flowers. And she has a weird space cat tattoo on her right forearm with a little black choker with a metal piece shaped like an heart. She puts her wrist to her lips and gives you herself a theatrical nip, and then looks to you, embarrassed but also hopeful. Yeah, I do. I don't know what you're talking about. Or are you into that sort of thing? What? Are you into that sort of thing? She blushes, looks down at the floor, and nods. Could you, if you like, Miss Langley tells me She swallows hard, avoids your eyes. That I taste nice. Drink from Julie or do not drink from Julie? Oh, let's drink from Julie. You take her forearm in your hands. A quick look around confirms nobody's watching, and no security cameras cover this area. You bite down gently. It's surreal. She's just giving you her blood of her own volition. How is this possible? What about the masquerade? You need to talk to Sophie. Your thoughts disappear amid the bliss. There's just the taste. Sweet, fresh, sanguine. You drink. And drink. And drink. No, stop, stop, stop! You tear away from the girl harder than you wanted. Still, the bites leaves just tiny puncture. Almost as if by instinct, you lick them clean, and the two holes become concealed, just like that. Julie is now leaning on the wall, pale, wobbly, on her feet, but happy? She lets out a dreamy sigh, opens her eyes. A few tears fall onto her shirt, tears of joy. Thank you. Please, can you walk me downstairs, please? My dad, he doesn't know. He thinks it's a condition. Miss Langley told him so. She leans on you and requests you walk her over to a bench. She takes a seat and smiles at you. The crowd around Julie disperse slowly. Looking at her now, only some residual awe hangs in the air. Yeah, she's pretty, maybe even beautiful, sure, but not your type. What came over you before? That was the power of awe. She came into the room and she activated awe. You walk over to her. Edgar, dear, it was planning talking to you, but we need to get going. Give Julie my best wishes. Come with Eric. Gregory is waiting for you out front. It's only in the car that Sophie addresses you. I can tell from your look that you took the opportunity. Good for you. That girl's exquisite, don't you think? You wouldn't tell her by her demeanor, but she has so much passion. It brings out the unique bouquet in her blood. Her blood was delicious, but she knows so who we are. It feels like I took advantage of her. I think she knows who we are. That's not normal, right? Oh, it's not unusual, that much is true. But don't worry, she will do anything I tell her to, and won't say anything to anyone that I haven't put in her pretty head first. Time for the next stop. Training wheels off, this time. Gregory, Flushing Meadows, please. The driver takes the car over to the Williamsburg Bridge. You settle your thoughts. What did you do to the people back there? Was that about training wheels, or why Flushing Meadows? Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, Flushing? What for? Oh, other than the fact that the Unisphere is beautiful at this time of night, oh, it's a great hunting ground to wish to try out some of the talents of the blood. We all have our talents. Some of them come from the legacy we inherit from our sire. Others can be learned with experience. I can sway people or make them fear me. I see more of the world and in greater detail than some kindred. I can will my body to move with unparalleled precision and grace, and more. All of these skills make me who I am. They also help me hunt. What are my powers? How do I use my powers, or do I need my powers to hunt? I'm gonna go with how. How exactly do I use these talents? Oh, you will the blood to do your bidding. Many times, you'll find you do these things intuitively, almost passively. But making an entire room focus their attention on you? Oh, that is tempting the beast. Always keep the masquerade in mind, however. It's all fine if you can disappear in plain sight or command animals with your mind, but save those other talents for the right place and the right time. It only takes you half an hour to reach the park in this time of night. Both you and Sophie leave the car, with Gregory left behind again to find a parking spot and keep an eye on the car. Sophie seems deep in thought. She takes in the surroundings with a dreamy gaze. The sky is surprisingly clear tonight. The stars just barely visible in the light-polluted area of the city.
I feel like having a snack myself. I'll be by the fountain. Go. Look for somebody to your liking. See what effects you can achieve with your blood, but only pick one victim. Just one. Then come back. Seeing how she seems not altogether here, might not right now, you decide to leave Sophie to her own devices and seek out your prey. From here, it looks like you have a few choices. Just taking a stroll around the park and finding an isolated jogger or someone like them could work, but focusing on one area might work better. The New York State Pavilion might work as a secluded spot. There's a skate park nearby, and worst case scenario, there's bound to be some unfortunate wino around. Or maybe the tennis courts nearby. There's light coming from there, so somebody might still be playing a late night match. They won't be alone, but they might be tired and let their guard down. As these scenarios plays into your mind, you realize you're planning out to assault a stranger in the middle of the night. It's a weird way to be, but the now familiar hunger prompts you to act. So search a victim around the park, near the decrepit pavilion, praise around the tennis court, or take a walk, but you do not feed. Oh, no. We feed. Let's go to the pavilion. You make your way to one of the park's most well-known landmarks, the round skeleton of the New York State Pavilion, with its two vaguely futuristic-looking towers. You don't get lucky with the skate park. It's not deserted. Instead, a group of skaters is gathered there, talking loudly and listening to music playing out of crackling smartphone speakers. Deciding to have a quick look around, you identify a potential victim, a sleeping bag lady, leaned back on a bench, a shopping cart full of what looks like trash nearby. One of these might be the right opportunity to take. Feed on the sleeping bag lady, or presence grab one of the skaters' attention. I'm gonna feed on the lady, see what happens. You creep closer to the filthy, smelly lady on the bench. Her body is barely visible from under the multiple layer of ragged, mismatched garments. She's not a glamorous target, but it seems safe, and safe will have to do tonight. The scent of alcohol mixed with her nasty body odor. You try to ignore it, seeking the warmth of her blood as the promise it keeps. She doesn't get to open her eyes before you strike. Biting her exposed neck, you're struck by melancholy. It's not like you feel guilty about targeting her, though that too, but there's an unexpected surge of empathy the taste of her blood provokes. She's probably alone in the city, lost, abandoned by this country's social system, forced to drift from place to place. Her blood is tainted by alcohol. There's something else. Sickness? You stop drinking. The woman doesn't wake up from her stupor. She lets out a deep sigh and starts snoring loudly. That's when you hear the footsteps and turn around to see a figure in the shadow of the pavilion. A hooded man is looking menacingly at you. Yeah, he's got those glowing eyes, he's got a Mike shirt, and a baseball cap that says I love beer.
What do you think you're doing barging in on my turf like this, Lick?
Lick? What kind of slur is that? Didn't mean to trespass, I'm gone. Piss off or else. Piss off! I'm not in the mood for mugging, and you do not want to cross me right now.
Mugging? Nah, this ain't a mugging. This is one Lick telling another to get the fuck out of their turf. But first, you're gonna tell me who you're with. Save me the whole masquerade song and dance. I know what you are. Now talk before my posse shows up and we beat it out of you.
Big talk coming from a chump. I'm with the Camarilla, or I'm here with Sophie Langley. Should I tell the sect, or should I mention the... Okay, I'm gonna try that. I came here with Sophie Langley. She's my patron.
Doesn't ring a bell. Sounds fancy though.
He licks his lips, exposing his fangs and looking at you voraciously. A nervous tick or an attempt at intimidation? I wonder, what would Callahan do to you if I brought you in, huh? Break your shins? Live you out to be kissed by the sun? Ooh, concrete shoes, baby. He's old school like that. Attack him, call for help, or celerity, run back to Sophie fast. I'm gonna use my power. Celerity. You take off, fast. Faster than you've ever run. The hoodlum has trouble keeping up, but howl behind you like an animal and gives chase anyway. As you reach the Unisphere again, you slow down, noticing two people near the sculpture. A man and a woman tangled in a passionate embrace. No, not exactly. It's Sophie feeding. But this whole thing is set up so that it looks like a couple getting intimate in public. She pulls it off like she's done it 100 times before. It occurs to you that she probably has. The man is unsure on his feet, and as she lets go of him and leads him towards a nearby bench. Noticing you, she whispers something into his ears and leaves him. Her driver appears from behind a tree.
Well, Eric, how did it go?
You're about to answer when the same figure as before emerged from one of the alleys. He looks at the three of you. A predatory smile creeps onto his lips. You thought you could run away from me, Lick? Think you'll be safe with your friends? Well, I have friends too. He makes a motion to shout, but two things happen almost at the same time. First, that feeling of a warmth and beauty emanating from Sophie flares up again, entrancing both you and the hooded thug. His shout come out as a weak, confused squeak. Second, Gregory produces a wooden stake from a holster under his jacket and slams it into the thug's chest. Just like that, in a few seconds, the posturing vampire is down on the ground, paralyzed.
I see you've made a friend, Eric. Curious choice of company, I would say. Who is he?
He knew that was a vampire. He said it was his turf. He mentioned a Callahan. He said something about presenting me to somebody named Callahan. Never heard of him? She looks shocked for a split second, then recovers her regular countenance.
Yes, I have. This hoodlum is Anarch, then. Curious. Corona Park has not been claimed by any kindred last time I checked. Let's go to the car. We'll put him in the trunk and present him to Kadir tomorrow night. I'm sure he'll be delighted to make this unbound's acquaintance.
Gregor carries the stake vampire and dumps it into the car trunk like a mannequin. He's a strange shit, and you're quite happy you're not in that poor fucker's shoes right now. It's almost surprising that you can get away with just casually throwing a stiff into your car and driving away, but then you remember that Sophie has been doing this far longer than you have. Still, the nagging thought that anything you did tonight could have been recorded on a CCTV camera or picked up by a rando with a half a decent smartphone and streamed online fills you with dread. Hunting and using your abilities is a dangerous business. It's clear that this whole being a vampire thing, it has about as many caveats as it has perks. You're taken out of your headspace by Sophie's voice.
I will pick you up tomorrow night, same as tonight. I have some business to attend to at the Elysium, and I expect you to accompany me. Plus, our friend in the back needs to be properly introduced to Kadir and the prince. I'm sure he'll have some interesting things to say to the court.
Her voice is cold, cruel, and nothing like the enchanting personality she showed at the gallery earlier tonight. Sophie is clearly a woman of many faces. What's going to happen to him? Good riddance, the guy's an asshole. I would do the same thing in his place. Oh yeah, I can imagine he's going to enjoy meeting Kadir. I hope he gives him a good grilling. That guy's an asshole.
Oh, Kadir will enjoy it too, I'm sure.
She pauses, seemingly lost in thought for a while.
You haven't told me how your hunting went. Getting the hang of it, I would hope?
It'll take some getting used to, or I think so, yeah. I'll need time to get used to this, but it doesn't come naturally.
It will with time. You need to think about it less. Hunting is the one scenario in which you'll do well to trust your instincts. In moderation, of course.
She seems distracted, not all there. Her thoughts drift, and the car remains silent until you reach your apartment.
We'll pick you up tomorrow evening. Good night.
Just like that, without any further courtesy, Sophie leaves, driven to her apartment by Gregory with a body in the trunk, right in the middle of Manhattan. Did you cross paths with a situation like this in the past unknowingly? What other secrets did you pass on the street without knowing their true nature? Your haven is just as you left it hours ago. Although the sun won't come out for some time, you feel tired. You learned something about yourself today, and it'll take time to process. You're not in the mood for television, and the few books on the shelves in the apartment are either in language you don't speak or sounds like a boring read. Nothing left to do but rest. You settle in the back room, lock the door. A moment of hesitation, but then a decision. This time, you turn the light off. You think back to Julie. How many people in this city know about this vampiric society? How many are willing accomplices in sustaining it? And the thug you met in the park. If he's not Camarilla, then what is he? Are there independent vampires? How does that work? More questions. You begin wondering if there's ever going to be a night when you can start crossing them off the list instead of adding to it. You close your eyes. I want to check something. Okay. The typing speed is standard. I'm gonna go with slow. I'm not gonna save an exit, but you sink into the now familiar void of nothingness. It greets you with open arms, like an old friend. You open your eyes. It's pitch dark here, the blackness of a coffin drifting in the abyss. Oh right, the light. You grasp for the switch, flip it. The familiar cramped room with a steel door and no windows comes into view. You emerge from the bedroom, fully awake, just like yesterday. This time, however, Sophie is waiting for you, comfortably seated on the sofa in your living room space, a book in her hand. The Melancholy of Resistance. The title's sure on brand.
Good evening, Eric.
Good evening, Sophie. How did you get inside? Sorry that I kept you waiting. She has a key. That's one of her apartment. But yeah, that was rude to come in unannounced, but it's still her apartment. I'm gonna be like, okay, good evening, Sophie.
Oh, I hope you rested well. Tonight will be quite eventful, I think. Come, we have an appointment. I received word the Elysium would be called again tonight on account of your unruly friend from Cornora Park. This should be a great opportunity for you to mingle.
She keeps talking as you walk downstairs and get in the car. Gregory gives you a slight nod and a smile while opening the door for Sophie. He starts the car when you take your seat in the back.
Most of the Primogen Council is bound to be there, at least those who usually attend. Probably some other important personalities you do well to at least learn about.
Who should I talk to, or how should I carry myself when inside? How should I carry... Oh, you never told me if there's any savoir-vivre kind of rules I should respect when talking to other vampires.
Oh, knowing that you're among your superiors is probably the most important. In our society, status comes with age. Pardon my sincerity, but you are insignificant. Not even associating with me can make the fact that you've been kindred for barely a few nights be forgotten. So know your place, stay out of your superior's business, and show the utmost respect. Thanking the prince for sparing you, and maybe having a friendly chat with Kadir publicly, might show your gratefulness for being a part of a Camarilla now. I would suggest you make it sincere. At any rate, you should behave yourself tonight. Remember what I told you about reflecting on me as your patron. I have a reputation to uphold in the court. Do not tarnish it.
There it is. She might have saved you, she might be protecting and teaching you, but it's clear what she's really concerned about. Her own interest. You stepped into the art hole with something of a bad memory. Last time you were here, your entire world has been turned upside down. Your existence nearly ended. But tonight, there is very little outward hostility. Yes, Kadir gives you a look that's definitely intended to remind you of your place, but the prince, also in attendance, seems pleased to see you.
Welcome, Sophie! Eric, did I get that right? Good evening to both of you. I understand there is somebody else you wish to present to the court tonight? Yes, Prince. They will be joining us shortly. My assistant is retrieving them presently. This better be worth the prince's time, Langley.
The prince gives Givdir a cold glance.
Forgive the sheriff's harshness. He's in a particularly foul mood tonight. Something to do with Eric's begetter eluding his grasp, I believe.
Ouch. That must have hurt his ego, even if his only reply is a crooked smile. The mention of your sire makes you come back to all the talk of eschewing societal norms and disillusionment with the status quo you enjoyed back in the club. Look at you now, behaved, agreeable. She's likely wouldn't be too happy with this whole setup. Prince, court, hierarchy, titles. But hey, she's gone. Probably forever. If you ever break out of this, they'll be on your own. The flaring up of whispers in the gallery hall breaks you out of your thoughts. Gregory enters the room, the jumpsuit clad, inert vampire still staked on his shoulder. The show's about to start. Sophie's driver places his charge in the middle of the room and nods respectfully to Kadir. The sheriff approached the vampire and removed the stake from his chest. The captive's eyes flicker to life, and he starts looking around in disbelief. Like a cornered animal, he backs out on all fours, keep going in circles until he realizes he's trapped. Kadir steps on the man's chest and pins him to the floor.
Why, who do we have here?
Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. No. Come on. Don't.
Silence!
The sheriff takes on an aura of utter dread. He appears as if he's a primal force of nature that's out to get you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do but shrivel in terror. The beast inside you shrieks, and you could swear it happens in unison with the instinct of some of the other guests here tonight. It's unlike anything you experienced in his company during your turbulent first night as a vampire. He really did go easy on you, all things considered. It seems like it takes all of the hoodlum's willpower to not crawl into a fetal position and start crying. No, please, don't hurt me, man. Don't.
You and me are going to have a little talk downstairs at the prince's discretion.
Please go ahead, my sheriff.
You heard the prince. Get up. Let's go.
He doesn't wait for a confirmation. He just grabs the man and drags him, kicking and screaming, out of the room. Conversations start all around you, some whispered, some quite overt. Sophie looks somewhat bored of the whole affair, her eyes wandering from art piece to art piece, clearly finding nothing to her particular liking. Torture in the art gallery, will Kadir manage on his own, or what happens now? So for how cultured you all seem, torturing somebody in an art gallery doesn't seem so to faze you.
Oh, please, do keep your naivety to yourself. Power and violence have always been two sides of the same coin. Most of us here are far too old to bother with keeping up appearances. Excuse me.
Sophie leaves your side and goes into a corner of the gallery where a group of kindred, some seemingly pretty old-fashioned, gathered. A concierge offers you a drink, still warm, and smells nice. Just a sip to start you off, splash over your palate, coating your tongue and the inside of your cheek. Nourishment. You're left to your own devices. You have a quick look around. The prince is currently talking to a dark-skinned woman that you recall seeing her here those few nights ago. She has a cold but noble countenance to her. Their conversation seems to be casual. A loud, shrill laugh turned your attention to the best spectacle man who you saw with Sophie on the night of your judgment. He's making the rounds, chatting up different patrons. You feel somebody's eyes on you. A casually dressed, plain-looking man stands alone near a column watching you. He turns his gaze away sheepishly when he realizes you've noticed. So, talking to the prince and with the tan woman, chat up with the man with the glasses, or confront the man looking at you. I'm gonna try going with the latter. There's something about this guy. It's not that he's staring at you. Most everybody in this room has, at one point or another. It's how he does it. It seems shy, maybe even afraid. It's hard to find a secluded spot in the gallery tonight, but this guy has an entire corner of the room all to himself. As you approach, he's standing alone with no glass in his hand, a worried look on his face. Good evening, mister. Something wrong? Or so what's so interesting about me? Okay, I'm gonna try to be polite. Good evening, mister. This is Robert Larson. Larson, or you can call me Robert, either's fine. So he's got mop hair. Looks like one of those tied turtleneck you can zip from mid-chest to the throat. And he has an unshaven beard. Who are you? What's your role in this court? Why are you standing here alone like this? So, do you have a role in this court, or are you just here for the company? Now that's a loaded question. I'm one of the Prince Panhard's Primogen. I'm here on business, in case the prince requires my insight. Usually it's so she can hear me out before ignoring me. Not sure if you were paying attention the other night, but when the prince mentioned diverging opinions on whether you should be executed or not, that was me. I was the diverging opinion. Wow, thank you. What was your reasoning? And you were ignored. Okay, not that I'm ungrateful, but out of curiosity, what was your reasoning? My reasoning? Just common sense. That you shouldn't be blamed for being assaulted and essentially murdered to boot. But as Kadir loves to say, the traditions are clear. Listen, I don't want to be rude, and I appreciate you reaching out, but word of advice? Stay away from me. Many vampires in this sect regard my position as Primogen to be some kind of a joke, you know? You talk to me, they'll notice, and they'll hold it against you. You have a quick look behind you and see that a few of the kindred keep shooting curious glances. One woman in particular, a redhead boasting a fanciful hairstyle, watches you disapprovingly. Some of them already do, I imagine. Excuse me, I need to try to get a word with a few Primogen members before Kadir returns. Enjoy your night! With just the critical looks of a few kindred to keep you company, you start thinking about who to pursue next. You notice Sophie mingling with the other kindred clearly in her element and not to be disturbed. Kadir hasn't come back yet, so you can probably still find time to do at least one conversation. The one with the glasses or talking to the prince? Yeah, I think I'm gonna pay my respect to the prince. Like, being grateful, thank you for sparing my life, blah blah blah. That will be nice. You approach the prince, trying to stay as respectful of her private conversation as possible. She glances at you as you step forward, her scrutinizing gaze mimicked by her companion. She addresses the dark-skinned woman before turning to you. Excuse me for such a moment, Samira. Yes, Eric, what is it? I wanted to give you my thanks. I want to ask about Sophie. I want to ask about Camarilla. Okay, I'm going to give you my thanks. I wish to thank you for sparing me, Prince. I realize it wasn't an easy decision to make, and I wanted to express my sincere appreciation. How thoughtful of you. She takes a long look at you before she continues. I didn't do it for the kindness of my unbeating heart. You are an asset to Miss Langley, to the Camarilla, and to me. I believe I made the right decision. Prove to me and the other kindred of this city that it was so, and there might be more for your future nights than just survival and servitude. The dark-skinned woman looks impatiently at you and catches the prince's attention. Forgive me, and that's all the time I can spare right now. We have some things to discuss with Samira still. Enjoy your night, Eric. Same to you, Prince Piano. Just bow and leave, or we leave without comment. I'm gonna bow. You leave the two women to their conversation, which they get back to almost immediately after the prince turns to Samira. A loud exchange near the staircase grabs everybody's attention. Kadir is back, and the hoodlum is with him. The sheriff pushes the other vampire inside the room. The vampire that threatened you last night is a mess. That stupid hat is still inexplicably on his head, covering some of his ruined face in welcome shadow. He's barely conscious. His shin is broken, you think, something protruding there, making the pant leg bulge. One arm seems twisted at a strange angle. Very little blood, surprisingly, but clearly a whole lot of hurt. Well, Kadir, did our guest cooperate?
Tell the prince your name.
It's Howard.
And who do you run with, Howard?
The Midnighters.
An Anarch coterie, my prince. Active for some time now, though from what this one told me, the name is about the only legacy the group has kept over the years.
I see. Hey, Prince, I didn't mean it. I didn't know. I did. A loud crack makes some of the guests audibly gasp as Kadir slap dislocates the man's jaw. A spray of blood creates something like an abstract art piece on the floor.
This one is guilty of threatening a member of the Camarilla and claiming a domain without the prince's approval. That alone would be enough to pass swift judgment, but he's also Anarch scum. My prince?
Oh, there can be only one verdict. Final death. Do your dirty, sheriff. Unless, of course, somebody would like to play at being a good Samaritan like our dear Miss Langley a few nights ago. The look the prince serves you and Sophie is a cruel jest. Sophie takes it gracefully, smiling and slipping her arm under yours in a strange public show of affection. Nobody says anything. The vampire named Howard jumps to his feet and makes for the window. Stop Howard from escaping. Do not intervene or celerity. Grab Howard. You know what? Kadir's got this. He's the sheriff after all. Do not intervene. You have a feeling Howard's efforts are fruitless. Just a few seconds later, that feeling is confirmed. He almost reaches the window. Almost, but not quite. In what seems like a blink of an eye, Kadir appears first near his scabbard sword in one corner of the gallery, and then next to the escaping Anarch on the opposite side of the... Oh, there was something else, but let's see. On the opposite side of the room. The next moment, Howard's head flies off of his body, baseball cap free. His lifeless body crumbles to the ground and begins to decompose in real time. It's an uncanny sight. As always, our sheriff does not fail to impress. I would like to thank Miss Langley for bringing this Anarch thug to my and Kadir's attention. I assume we'll all found the victim satisfactory. It's a rhetorical question, and everybody here knows it. Then I consider tonight's meeting concluded. Good night to all of you. She steps out of the room, and you see that many of the guests move to do the same. Sophie seems to be conversing with somebody, a serious-looking man in a trench coat, about what transpired. You probably have the time to strike out a conversation of your own, too. Kadir al-Asmai is still there, for one, but clearly getting ready to leave. Larson is still moping around, and the other man you noticed before Kadir brought the Anarch is still... Okay, before Kadir brought the Anarch is still chatting with the remaining attendants. Okay, so I'm not going to talk to Robert Larson again. Talk to the sociable man. That must be the guy with the glasses. I'm going to talk to Kadir before he leaves. The sheriff's mood seems to have improved, so you decide you won't get a better shot at saying your piece. He's just sheathing his sword as you approach him. He notices you just before his face turns from a melancholic frown back to his regular predatory smirk. You seem to have caught him in a moment of reflection.
What is it, Eric?
I wanted to thank you for bringing me here. Is everything alright? Impressive work tonight. No, I'm gonna be grateful. Oh, I wanted to thank you for bringing me here in one piece, for giving me a chance. An emotion creeps onto Kadir's face that you haven't seen the sheriff's exhibit yet. Is that gratitude? It's fleeting only there for a moment, gone in the blink of an eye.
Oh, it was trying on my nerves, and you're still far and away from proving that it was the right thing to do. So don't think that a few kind words will let you off the hook. I wonder, how does it feel to bring a lamb to the slaughter the way you did tonight? Do you feel any remorse? Regret? I'm going to enjoy guessing. If there's nothing else, I'll be taking my leave.
Why are you so mean? Do you enjoy being sheriff, or can you tell me something about Sophie? This is a good question. Because we know nothing about Sophie. Like, we all know that the only reason she took us in is for her own interest, and she managed to convince the prince that it could be for her interest as well. So, I'm going to ask you if you enjoy being the sheriff. Tell me, do you enjoy this, being a sheriff for Prince Panhard?
Enjoyment has nothing to do with this. It's my duty. When Calabros asked me to fill the shoes of the sheriff and root out our enemies, I was glad to serve the sect. When Elaine became prince and asked that I keep doing this, I agreed because I believe in the Camarilla and I respect the fact that the needs of the many outweighs the needs of the few.
He picks up the sword and turns toward the stairs.
If more kindred understood that, my job would be much duller though. On that note, I wish you a good night. And watch yourself. You messed up my batting average, so I'll be sure to keep a close eye on you.
With that final threat, he leaves the gallery. It's right about when Sophie also ends her conversation and walks over to you.
Interesting evening, wasn't it? Come, Gregory's waiting downstairs.
She seems preoccupied with something and not in a talkative mood. It's an awkward ride back to the city. This time, you arrive at another building, just 2 streets across from your apartment. She brings you upstairs, through a very nice lobby and a luxurious-looking hall into her domain.
Please have a seat. I shall be right with you.
You take in your surrounding. The apartment is like a gallery, an old-school smoking room that you've seen in some period piece once, and a nouveau riche living room, meticulously combined together.
Apologies. Old habits die hard. Clearly some stick with you even after your death.
Smoking. She drags on her cigarette and breathes out. Breathes. How is she doing that? Can you do that?
Oh, yes. You might not know, it takes some practice, but you can keep smoking if you like. Other things too. Experiment. You might surprise yourself. But I did not bring you here to show off. This is where I rest these nights. That door in the back, the bedroom. Similar to yours. I have servants and bodyguards in addition, of course. I brought you here because I need you to trust me. When I told you before that I needed your best behavior to uphold my good standing with the court, I meant it. But that's not the whole story. I have your interest in mind, too. That's why I've given you your own haven, why I'm trying to teach you how to navigate this new reality. But you need to trust me or else this won't work. You can come here whenever you feel like asking me something, when you're in trouble too. Though I hope that will happen. I will ask you to come here when you wake up tomorrow. I'll have something to discuss with you.
I'll be here. Trust needs to be earned. Why not discuss it right now? Hmm. Hmm. Okay, I'll come over first thing tomorrow night.
I appreciate that.
That's silence again. There is definitely something on Sophie's mind tonight, but she doesn't seem eager to share it with you just yet.
I'm leaving for another visit. Come downstairs with me. We'll give you a lift.
A quick trip. Promise that you'll show up tomorrow, and some polite goodbyes later. You open the door to your haven and gather your thoughts. It's exciting in a way, being dragged deeper and deeper into this secret society and its rules. Whatever Sophie has planned for you, it's bound to teach you more about this thing you have become. You sink into your vampiric sleep with just a sliver of hope. It's a welcome change.